Today, we're taking a name you might have heard recently, Betsy Gay, and really digging into the story behind that name.
Right. And for a lot of people, especially classic Hollywood fans, that name probably brings up Our Gang.
Exactly, yeah. The series most of us know now as The Little Rascals.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the point of this deep dive, isn't it? We take something like, the recent news of her passing.
Which is sad news, of course.
Absolutely. But we use that as a jumping off point to, unpack the whole story. Go beyond just the headline.
Give you that shortcut to being, really informed about who she was.
Yeah, the full picture.
Yeah.
Because often there's so much more there.
So the basic news, Betsy Gay passed away June 13th. She was 96.
And this came via her friend, Robert Satterfield, and outlets like Variety and People picked it up.
But like you said, while that Little Rascals connection is strong, her life story,
Yeah.
well, it goes in some really surprising directions.
It really does.
Yeah.
Should we start with that iconic role, Effie?
Yeah, let's do that. Effie, Alfalfa's girlfriend in Our Gang. She was in those shorts during the 1930s, up until about 1938, I think.
That's right. You see her in ones like Our Gang Follies of 1938, Came the Brawn. Pretty well-known ones.
And it's easy to forget just how huge Our Gang was. Created by Hal Roach.
Producer Hal Roach. It ran, from 1922 all the way to 1944.
That's incredible. Such a long run.
It really is, and then later it gets rebranded The Little Rascals, which is how most people probably encountered it later on, maybe even through that 90s movie.
The 1994 film, yeah.
No.
But Betsy's early career wasn't just Our Gang. You mentioned this earlier, the sheer volume.
Oh, it's kind of staggering when you look at it. Over 40 films.
Before she was even 13.
Exactly. I mean, think about that workload for a kid.
It's wild. And not just bit parts, right? She was in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
At the circus, Mystery Plane. I mean, she was really working. It shows you just how different that whole child actor scene was back then.
And how she got into it is also pretty interesting. You found that interview.
Yeah, from 2011. It sounds almost, accidental. She said another mother just told her mother, "You ought to take Betsy to the studio."
Just like that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They come there all the time looking for kids to be in Our Gang comedies. So her mom took her.
Wow.
And then, a month later, someone from the studio spots her and recruits her. It wasn't this big, formal audition process we think of now.
Much more informal, word of mouth almost.
Yeah, very serendipitous,
Yeah.
which really paints a picture of early Hollywood.
Okay, so she's this incredibly busy child actor. And then comes this, pivot. A big one.
This is the part I find fascinating. Because you'd think, okay, more acting roles, maybe transitioning into teen roles.
Right. Logical progression.
But nope. 1941, she suddenly launches a career in Western music.
Western music. How does that happen?
Apparently, it started because she was asked to yodel for an Andy Clyde short for Columbia Pictures.
Yeah, they just asked her to yodel. Did she already know how?
That part's a little unclear from the sources, but the request itself seems to have sparked this whole new direction. Talk about versatility.
No kidding. From child star to yodeler.
And not just a yodeler. She got seriously good at it. She performed with Stuart Hamblin and his Lucky Stars, which was a pretty big deal in the 40s.
Okay.
And then, get this, she won the California State Yodeling Championship.
Wow.
Twice.
Okay, that's not just a hobby. That's serious talent.
Exactly. 1945 and 1946. She was a legitimate champion in a completely different field.
That's amazing. I'm just picturing her telling people that later in life.
Oh, yeah.
Effie from Our Gang, also a two-time state yodeling champ.
It's a great story. And it wasn't just competitions. She was on the radio. She got recording contracts.
The major labels too, right?
Yeah, Capitol Records and Decca Records, recording with Russ Morgan's band on Decca.
Russ Morgan. Okay, so she's making records, winning championships.
And then she's on TV. She was a regular cast member on a KABC TV show called Country America.
When was this?
1957 to 1959. And
Okay.
look who else was on that show. Johnny Cash.
Wow. Okay.
Farron Young, the Everly Brothers.
Seriously. She was sharing a stage with Johnny Cash and the Everlys.
That's what the record shows. It just paints this picture of a career that absolutely refused to be pigeonholed.
It really does.
Uh,
Did she keep acting at all during this time?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
She did some stage work in her teens at the Pasadena Playhouse plays like Quality Street, A Kiss for Cinderella,
Right.
and there was a 1943 film, What's Buzzin' Cousin, So acting didn't completely disappear, but the music, especially the yodeling, seems to have been a major focus for a while.
And she had a personal life going on, too, outside of all this performing.
Absolutely. She married Thomas Cashin in 1954.
Okay.
And they had 5 children, Mimi, Gigi, Tommy, Susie, and Kathy. So a full family life alongside everything else.
It sounds like a really rich, multi-layered life, far beyond just being Effie.
Definitely. But it is interesting how that connection to our gang, to her roots, stayed with her.
Yeah, you mentioned her friend, Robert Satterfield, said she attended the very last reunion.
In 2014. Which shows that connection endured, right through her life.
And his words about her passing, she will be deeply missed. That feels like a really fitting personal note to end on for her public story.
It does. It brings it back to the person behind the performer.
So looking back at everything we've just unpacked.
It's quite a journey, isn't it? Child star, prolific one at that.
Then boom, champion yodeler.
Performing with music legends, TV regular, family life. It's way more than most people probably realize.
And that really is the value of doing this deep dive, right? You go from just a name or a single role
to understanding a whole fascinating life. You get those surprising facts, the context, the twists and turns you just don't get from a quick headline.
It gives you a much richer appreciation.
Yeah. And maybe it makes you think a bit differently, too.
How so?
Well, Betsy Gay's story. Moving from that intense early fame into something completely different. Finding new ways to express herself. Building this whole other career and a family.
It definitely challenges the stereotype of the child star whose life peaks early.
Exactly. It speaks volumes about maybe adaptability, resilience, finding different kinds of success and fulfillment.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often do we assume we know someone's whole story based on just one part of it? Her journey shows there can be so many more chapters.